Masachet Zevahim Daf Yodal Ramur Aleph 10 lines down. Rabbi Shimon Machshir Behiluch. Rabbi Shimon says the korban's kasher if the kohen did a different intention while bringing the blood, because technically you don't need to bring the blood to make the korban kasher, and therefore if he had a different intention, the korban is still kasher. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Moder Rabbi Shimon would agree. B'halachat hadaot hapnimiyot, that if when bringing the blood of the korban hatat of the inner mizbeach, the intention for the wrong korban would make it pasul. Because that's an avodah that is not would not make it would not be kasher without, and therefore since you can't circumvent it, it'll be pasul. The Rishimon also said, any blood that's not thrown on the outside mizbeach, like the shlamim blood, and it will not become pigur if you have the wrong intention, and therefore inner hatat as well will never become pigur. So if that's the case, how would you say that the inner hata will be pasul if you have wrong intention? مثلا مرة بيصير بربي حنينة موضع يعرف so. Rabbi Shimon says that even though it doesn't even become pigul, it still becomes disqualified. Mikavachomer, because of Mikavachomer. Umash lishman, because why? If you do an intention not for the right purpose, she'achshuru b'shlamim pasul b'hatat, which shlamim stays kasher but pasul for a hatat, chutz lizmano she'pasal b'shlamim eno din she'pasal hatat. So if it's not, so for sure, in the case where you have intention for a different time, which makes a shlamim pasul, so for sure the hatat will be pasul. Where it says v'ashachan chutz lizmano. Okay, now we brought a proof that different timing intention makes the inner hatat pasul. Hostim kolominan. But what about the case where you have intention that you're going to do the avodah outside the correct place? Does that make it pasul or not? And where's the source? So the Gemara says, if you want to learn it from the source of the time isur, it's impossible. It can't be. That's not true. Because you can't learn from there because the case of learning from a different time, that's a hayav karet. Even Shlomishma, you want to learn from the fact that you can't have it for the right korban as well, not for his own sake. That's also you can't learn from. Shekin no heg b'bama, because that disqualifies, that pisul applies to a bama. Bama is before they used to have the Bet HaMikdash mizbeach. People could have their own mizbeach in their backyard. It would be called a bama. Not many people know this type of concept. It's come up before through our journey in Shas, but not many people know this. They used to have bama was your own personal mizbeach in your backyard. So the idea was that the if you're able to bring a private korban, uh, also had the halacha of lishma, but there's no such thing as having by bama. There's no such thing as having the wrong place because technically there is no place. If you're doing a mizbeach in your backyard at the time when it was allowed, you're not having wrong intentions because there is no correct place to do it. The Gemara says, "Shelo lishma b'manoheg." What do you mean? The concept that if you're doing the wrong intention, not for the right purpose, where does it apply? Pesach hatat, we need to buy a Pesach hatat, as we said prior. Pesach hatat b'ma lo yikru, but Pesach hatat can't be brought on a bama. So therefore, that disqualification won't apply over there. Where it says, "Ibadema hekisho," if you want, I can even bring you a hekesh, a connection through a pasuk. Shalishi, the pasuk word, use the word third day. Ze hostes mano, this refers to that intention beyond its regular time it's supposed to be brought. Pehul, when the pasuk says pehul as well, hostes kamo, it excludes a case that will also make it pasul if you have it for outside the location. Marabarabas says. Now this next few lines, try to follow along. It is a ton of information. But we'll go step by step. Amar Rav Rava says, right? So just let's preface it by saying that in our Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon mentioned that if you have the wrong intention, it doesn't make it pasul if that avodah is not necessary to begin with. Um, and then Rabbi Shimon would also say that if the korban hatat of the inner korban hatat was done with the wrong intentions, it would make it a pasul because that's unavoidable. Now, the Gemara doesn't say, on top of that, building on that, im timsilu ma Rabbi Shimon sabah kibre. If you want to say that Rabbi Shimon agrees with his son, Rabbi Elazar, the Amar, who held, ben ha'ulam ulam mizbeach tzafon, that the space between the ulam, the chamber, and the mizbeach and the mizbeach is considered the northern part of the courtyard. So there's mahloket in later on this in the Masechet. And the Son of Rabbi Shimon says that the northern part of the Hatzer, the courtyard between the Mizbeach and the Ulam, which is part of the Hechal, is kasher to slaughter kodesh kodshim. So there's different parts. There's the part that's next to the Mizbeach itself, and then there's the part that's past northern part of past the Mizbeach, which is closer to the Ulam. So he says, "En mahshar ma'aleh be'halacha hat open meat." If you have the wrong intention while bringing it over there, it's not pasul. Elam petach ulam b'lefnim, unless the guy had the intention from the doorway of the chamber and inward. Because, meaning, if let's take it slowly. If the kohen brought the blood of the inner hatat in the area between the mizbeach and the ulam with the wrong intentions, it's not disqualified because he could have slaughtered it past there. And that only fits with Rabbi Elazar because Rabbi Elazar holds that it could be slaughtered there. Meaning, since he could have slaughtered it there, the walking wasn't necessary, and therefore wrong intention doesn't make it pasul because it wasn't required in the steps. Next, the if you want to say Savala Kavuda, he holds like Kavuda as well. The Amar Toch Azara Mekadesh. He says that the inside the Hazer can be you can make Hekadesh items. Right, so even later on in our Masechah, he says the floor by the Haser between the Mizbeach and the Olam has the same Kiddusha as the Mizbeach itself. And therefore, if you want, you could burn stuff there instead of doing it on the Mizbeach. So if that's what you hold, in mahashava mu'ad b'holachat siluk b'zachin. The wrong intention while bringing it, bringing the spices, is not effective. Unless the guy had the yarn doesn't make it pasul unless the kohen had intentions from the doorway of the hechal and outward, because otherwise the bringing is nothing to do with the place because the place he could have done it right there on the spot. Ve'im Samar, on top of that, if you wanted to say that really the kedusha of the hechal and the chamber is considered one and same kedusha, and mahashra mu'alet, wrong intentions again won't make it pasul. Unless it's the doorway of the chamber and outward again, because that place as well would be considered a eligible place, and therefore wrong intentions won't affect it. And if you want to tell me that inside the doorway is like considered like the actual ulam itself, the wrong intention does not make it pasul, even within one step of the guy walking, of the kohen walking. It's only if it's able to reach out with his hand. So, since technically the shulchan, which is well into the hechal, doesn't have to be there, you could bring it right to the doorway, and the levana can be burnt right there on the spot as well. The Kohen bringing the levana only has to reach from the doorway with the thing in his hand and put it outside. And therefore, pigul from there would be making it pasul. But otherwise, if it's within the hand's reach, like when you used to play football, you used to reach with the football over the touchdown, see if you could reach, it'd still be kasher. Okay. And if according to Rishimon, he holds that bringing it without walking is not considered moving in mahsham and wrong intentions encountered as well, because we'll see. I would bet, especially whether or not Rishimon holds that reaching out without walking is considered bringing or not, and he says the wrong intentions is not pasul at all when carrying it. Since you don't have to carry it at all, then walking doesn't make a difference. Okay. What's the halacha? Can a non-Kohen bring the blood or not? Amar le says kasher kasher. Umikra misayna, I can bring a proof from the pasuk. Vayishhatu pesach vayizreku hakohanim miyadam v'halevim mashpitim. They slaughtered the Korban Pesach. The Kohanim threw the blood that they had gotten from their hands, and the Leviim cut the animal with the skin. Amar says so. Seemingly, we see that who slaughters the animal? Even a non-Kohen. So seemingly they said, oh, you took the blood from their hands. Sounds like the people who slaughtered the animal, which could have been a non-Kohen, but seemingly a non-Kohen as well to take the blood. Where it says, Mativ Fishat, Zar ve'onen, a non-Kohen, and an onen as well. And an onen, as we know, is someone, Barinan, who lost a relative, a close relative, and it's before the burial, he's in Aninut. So a Kohen who's in an onen cannot do any of these avodah. Shikor uba'amum, a Kohen that's drunk, or a Kohen that has a mum, blemish, he's disqualified from receiving the blood or walking with it or throwing it. Similarly, a Kohen who's sitting or a Kohen that's using his left hand also cannot be doing these avodas. We're going to be talking about that later on for those Kohanim who are getting nervous that are lefties. The Gemara says, so we see clearly that a non-Kohen cannot do the avodah of walking in the blood. The Gemara says, too, so that's a good question. The Harav Hizda Kra, come on, one second. I have a question against Rav Hizda. He had a pasuk, gorgeous pasuk. Gemara says, no, David Maaseh Estabah. The pasuk is not a case where the non-Kohen just stood there. He didn't walk with it. He was handed it. He held it like a statue, and someone took it. He didn't move it at all. Okay. Rabbi of his Yosef, Damar Tirabel, these both rabbis say, Halacha Bizar Mahloket Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan. Mahloket between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan is talking about a case whether or not a non-Kohen can walk with the blood. Rabbi Shimon, Damar Avodah, She'efshar Levatala, La Avodahi. According to Rabbi Shimon, who says that Avodah, it's considered Avodah, that is unable to be circumvented, meaning it's required. Sorry, it's since he holds that it's not required and therefore it's extra, therefore it's not considered a real avodah. Kisharab Bazar, non-Kohen can do it. Rabbanan Pesula, but Rabbanan says Pasul. He says, one second, slaughtering, which is quite necessary for a sacrifice, because that's literally the beginning. We know a non-Kohen can do it. How's that possible? The one says, no. They told him, slaughtering is not considered part of the avodah. The says, what do you mean? The slaughtering of um the slaughtering of the parad by non-Kohen is pasul. Lamar of Allah and Rav said about it. El Azar ve'huka ketiba. The pasuk mentions El Azar and the word hok, which is a rule or a decree, seemingly saying that a Kohen is required to slaughter the parad, seemingly saying that slaughtering is an avodah. No, shani parad is different. The kosher bet because that's considered. It's not regular korban. It's not like a kodesh kodshim, but rather it's more like monetary that belongs to the Bet HaMikdash. Like there's this thing called the Bet HaGabayit, which means it's basically means that it's used for like renovations and stuff, upkeep. So because that type of monetary, therefore, it's only done by the coin. The Gemara says, if it's considered avodah for upkeep with the Bet HaMikdash money, so then for sure the stuff of the mizbeach, which is a high level of kedusha, so also be done with avodah of a coin. The Gemara says no. No, you're looking at it wrong. You're not looking at it as a requirement. It's technicality. For example, a tzaraat, you don't necessarily need a Kohen to do it, but Torah says you have to have a Kohen do it. So it's here as well. The slaughtering of a paraduma needs a Kohen, not because it's an avodah, but that's what the pasuk says you have to do. Okay, next. But once again, to bring the limbs of the animal onto the ramp of the mizbeach, because that's also able to be circumvented by slaughtering it right by the mizbeach. The Tiba says, "Vehekriva kohen et hakol vehektir hamizbecha." The Amor and Hamim say, "Zu halachad which refers to bringing the limbs." So we see that it has to be done by a kohen. The Gemara says, "Hechid the gali vehechid lo gali." True, and Hanami, but the pasuk, whenever it says a kohen has to do it, it has to do it. If not, not. So yes, you can still say that the slaughtering doesn't have to be done. The Gemara says, one second again, kavachomer. Bringing the limbs to the ramp. Lo aked kapara by kuna. You don't need to do it to get the owner to get a kapara. You still need a kohen. So then, if bringing the blood, which is needed to get kapara, so for sure you should need a kohen. The Gemara says, "It manami." Again, we said over there, "Ma'ula marabi alazar, olachab bezar pesla afilu Rabbi Shimon." And he agrees. Non-Kohen bringing the blood makes it possible according to Bishma. Okay. Ibali asked a question. Bringing it or holding it, well, we'll see, not by foot, yani not by moving, without making a step towards the Mizbeach, does that make it pasul or not? Is that good or not? Tashma is proof. Small pasul, we mentioned earlier, left-handed Kohen, or a Kohen that's sitting, right? It doesn't say that he's left-handed. I apologize. It just says the Kohen uses left hand. Maybe if he's already be okay, we'll see later on. No spoilers here. So what does it mean? If we're mentioning a Kohen as standing, which is like not walking, which is similar to the case of sitting, he's able to bring it. So seemingly, if you're passing it without moving, it also be kasher. The Gemara says, it's not a proof because maybe the Baraita says that it's talking about a case where he's sitting, but he's sitting while moving, meaning he's dragging himself while on his backside without taking steps. Or the case of standing is similar to sitting. They're not proof that where he's moving a little bit at a time. That would be kasher because the Kohen is moving a little bit. but not a proof that it was complete stationary pasul. The Gemara says Tashma, Shahak Yisrael v'kibel Kohen. The Yisrael would slaughter it like we said earlier, it's okay, and the Kohen would receive it. Like each Kohen would hand it over to each other. Seemingly, you can be kasher without moving it. The Gemara says, no, Hatam Nami Denaidi Purta. Over there, also they're moving a little bit. My comment was a hidush by telling us so many kohanim passed it on to each other, like on the assembly line. Pasuk says, "Berov am hadat melech." This is a mitzvah to make mitzvot with a greater amount of people. Is a big for some of the mitzvah, and that's why we have bigger audiences and assemblies when we're trying to do a mitzvah. Tashma, bring another proof. Kibel hakasher ben natan l'psul. Of a kohen that's kasher got the blood and handed it to a pasul kohen. Yahzir l'kasher, you should give it back to the kasher person. Seemingly, if he didn't move, it's kasher. Gemara says no. Ema yahzor hakasher b'kila. Maybe the guy has to go back to the original spot and then bring it. Seemingly restarting the process because maybe it was a puzzle. Walk carrying without moving is not considered carrying. If Charlotte Zukuna or the Shalokunan, is that able? Are you able to fix it? Let's say the guy did not move, and do you have to restart? Do you have to go back to the beginning where the animal was to make up for this guy touching it in the assembly line or not? That's not bringing proof. Kibela hakasher ben tanam. So if the kohen that's kasher got the blood and gave it to pasul kohen, Yahsil kasher you should give it back to the kasher kohen. The Gemara says, but uninami. Now you can also technically understand it. The yahzor kasher kohen that the guy has to go back to the initial spot. But the Gemara says no. Isa the tachlok of shad the kohen. If you want something that it can't be fixed, ipasela it should be completely pasul. Meaning I don't care where you start from now. You want to restart it. It's already the deed is done, and therefore it must be showing you that you can fix the thing that was done if you gave it to the wrong guy. The Gemara says, "Mi sabrat gavai, lo babarai." Who says? You're telling me, oh, you're giving it back to him and therefore it's fixing it? Who says? Maybe the case is talking about where instead of handing it closer to Mizbeach, you hand it to someone who's farther from Mizbeach. And therefore it wasn't considered like he was part of the process of bringing close to Mizbeach because he wasn't closer. And therefore when you take it over, you're just continuing the process where you left off because technically nothing was affected, no proof. Baruch Olam, Amen, amen.